With this video, you are going to get a review of how to simplify fractions, making sure that your fractions are written in simplest form. I have some helpful hints for you to think about as you work through simplifying your fractions. The first one is to use those divisibility rules that we've been working on to make this easier. Look for those shortcuts to see which numbers you can divide to simplify fractions. Number 2, make sure that you always divide the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. If you divide by the biggest number possible, you save yourself a few steps. And number 3, make sure that there are no common factors other than 1. Once you reach a point where you cannot divide your numerator and denominator by any number other than 1, you know that your fraction is in simplest form. Let's do a couple to practice. If I start with the fraction 4/8, I want to look for a number that I can divide both my numerator and denominator by. And if I use my divisibility rules, I see that 4 and 8 are both even, so I know that I can divide both of those by 2. And remember, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So if I divide 4 divided by 2, I get 2. And if I do 8 divided by 2, I get 4. Then I want to look at my fraction and see, can I go any further? So I look at 2 and 4. They are also even. So I know that I can divide both of those by 2 again. And I will end up with 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. There is nothing that I can divide 1 and 2 by except 1, so then I know that my fraction is in simplest form. 4/8 is equivalent to 1/2. Now I also mentioned that you might want to work on dividing it by the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor of 4 and 8 is 4. You can divide both of them by 4, and it just helps you it helps in getting to your final answer in fewer steps. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. You cannot divide those by anything except 1. So there is 4/8 in simplest form in only one step instead of 2. Something to remember is that you can take as many steps as you want to, but the benefit of dividing it by the greatest common factor is, again, just a shorter amount of steps. So looking at my divisibility rules with 12/30ths, they are both even. I could divide them both by 2. I could use my divisibility rules for the number 3. 1 plus 2 is 3, so I know that I can divide the number 12 by 3. And 3 plus 0 is 3, so I know that I can divide that by 3 as well. So I could start by dividing this by 2, or I could divide it by 3. I'm going to divide these both by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and if you do that to the top, you have to do it to the bottom. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Then I want to look at 6 over 15. Then I would realize that I can divide those both by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. There is nothing that I can divide 2 and 5 by, so that is my fraction in simplest form. However, if I look at the bottom one, I'm going to do the same fraction again. Looking at the numbers 12 and 30, you might see that you can divide those both by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 30 divided by 6 is 5, giving me the exact same answer, but only taking one step to get there. I am going to show you an example of simplifying a fraction where your divisibility rules come in handy. If I look at the fraction 51 over 63, there's nothing that jumps out at me right away that I can divide both of these by. So I'm going to go through my divisibility rules. My divisibility rule for 2 is to check for 2 even numbers. Neither of these are even, so I know I can't divide them by 2. So then I'm going to look at the rule for 3. When I take 5 plus 1, I get 6. And when I take 6 plus 3, I get 9. Looking at those, I know that I can divide both of those numbers by 3. This is especially helpful because when I look at the number 51, I'm inclined to think that it's a prime number because I never hear it with my basic facts that I've memorized. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both of these by 3. And again, if I don't know one of these by heart, I can just do the division off to the side. So if I do 51 divided by 3, 3 goes into 5 one time. And when you multiply and then subtract, you get 2 and drop your 1. And 3 goes into 21 7 times. So 51 divided by 3 leaves me with 17 as my numerator. And then if I do 63 divided by 3, 3 goes into 6 twice. And subtract, you get 0, bring down your 3, and 3 goes into 3 once. So 21 divided by 3 is 21. 17 is a prime number, so I cannot divide 17 or 21 by anything except 1. So I know that 17/21 is that fraction in simplest form.